Ladies and gentlemen, this is MTGO Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is June 27th for Hour of Devastation spoiler season. The more cards come out, the more I'm realizing just how insane this set is for EDH. Holy crap, so much here. But before I get into it, make sure to hit that like button over there. If you want to see more content like this, it really helps us out to know that people are interested in the content we produce. Okay, let's go through commons and uncommons first. Appeal is 1 green mana for a sorcery. Until end of turn, target creature gains trample and gets X plus X, where X is the number of creatures you control. When it goes to the graveyard, you can cast its Aftermath Authority for 1 colorless and 1 white mana for a sorcery. Tap up to 2 target creatures your opponents control. Creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn. This card is an absolutely amazing combat trick. Wow! If you have a large board presence, like in the green-white token deck in Standard, the 1 green mana is a blowout. And since the Aftermath is also well costed too, you can cast it in the same turn reasonably well, so you can get in for even more damage. This is a tempo card if I've ever seen one. So effective at what it does if you always have a large board presence. And if you don't, not to worry. You're going to want to use the Aftermath cost as well to tap up to 2 creatures, which is actually quite a bit for 2 mana. This is a draft and sealed combat trick bomb. I really think it might make its way into Standard as well. Just so good, guys. Wow. This might actually be tested in my green-white cat tribal deck. Next up, we have a new cycle of desert lands. Let's go through each one as they all have different abilities. Sheep Oasis is a land desert that you can tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or tap and pay 1 life, add 1 green mana to your mana pool. You can also pay 1 colorless and 2 green mana, tap and sacrifice a desert. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Activate this ability anytime you could cast a sorcery. Wow. Not only does this cycle of cards make the desert deck more viable, but it also gives you a great recurring ability to pump your creatures. Very cool. Okay, moving on to the other colors, I'll skip the mana and pay 1 life as that's on all of them. Rabbinate Ruins is a land desert that you can tap for mana, and you can also pay 2 colorless and 2 red mana, tap and sacrifice a desert. Rabbinate Ruins deals 2 damage to each opponent. Not as useful as Sheep Oasis, Hashep, but it could be a great way to finish off an opponent, as it can be a recurring ability turn after turn. Near Deadlands is a land desert that you can tap for mana, and you can also pay 2 colorless and 2 black mana, tap and sacrifice a desert. Put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature and opponent controls. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. This card is awesome. A possible removal spell on board at all times, that you can recur turn over turn if you have extra deserts. I really like this one a lot. Ipnu Reveille, is that how you pronounce it? Is a land desert that taps for mana, and you can pay 1 colorless and 1 blue mana, tap and sacrifice a desert. Target player puts the top 4 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Well, as we all know, mill is usually terrible. I feel very leery about this one, but this could work well in an Eternalized deck or Delirium deck of some sort. I'll have to see and play with it myself to see if it'll be useful. I'm not convinced just yet. Chefnet Dunes is a land desert you can tap for mana, and you can also pay 2 colorless and 2 white mana. Tap and sacrifice a desert. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. Okay, this one is great. A board-wide pump spell. This will come in handy in Draft and Sealed, where the board states are likely to be gummed up with creatures. I think this one is probably my second favorite behind the Black Desert. Overall, all the deserts are fairly playable in Draft and Sealed. The top 2 for me is If Near Deadlands and Chefnet Dunes. Removal and board-wide pumps cannot be ignored, especially if you can recur them with additional deserts. Now, the biggest question to me is, will we actually see a desert deck in Standard? I think one is possible, but competitive? Probably not. I'm going to be building a deck to test drive this regardless though, so that'll be fun. Alright, let's move on to the rares today. Hollow 1 is 5 colorless for a 4/4 artifact creature Gollum. Hollow 1 costs 2 colorless less to cast for each card you've cycled or discarded this turn. It also has cycling for 2 colorless mana. I think this card is actually pretty good. For 5 mana, you can cycle twice 2 other cards and pay 1 mana to get a 4/4, essentially drawing 2 cards and playing a 4/4 in 1 turn. In Draft and Sealed, this card is amazing, and I highly believe this will see Standard play as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if this made it into the new Perspectives combo deck as a cycle piece as well as alternate win condition. Super powerful. Maw of Chaos is 5 colorless and 2 red mana for a 6/6 Hellion. When Maw of Chaos enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to each other creature. Well, we just got our EDH All-Star red card here. Holy cow, this is powerful. If you can play this out in Draft and Sealed, this will likely wipe the board and leave you with a 2 to 3 turn clock for your opponent. My only problem with this card is that it doesn't have Trample. For the mana here, I would have hoped that Trample would have also been on it, as paying 7 mana, even if it is a Sweltering Suns on a stick. Seems odd. Regardless, this is a blowout bomb in Draft and Seal, and EDH players will love it as well. But don't play this in Standard. Sad face. Imminent Doom is 2 colorless and 1 red mana for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of Doom counters on Imminent Doom deals that much damage to target creature or player. Then put a Doom counter on Imminent Doom. Also, Imminent Doom enters the battlefield with a Doom counter on it. Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, you pay 3 mana for this card, and if you have a converted mana cost spell, it'll deal 1 damage to an opponent, but only once. As it goes up to 2, then you have to cast a 2 converted mana cost spell, and so on. This card just, it seems bad, like legitimately bad. I'm sure that there's an EDH deck somewhere that'll love this idea, but for Draft, Sealed, and Standard, I don't think so. If the card text said equal to or less than, then this card would be busted amazing. But because it only triggers once, then it goes up a counter, it makes it extremely annoying to try and play around with. But you could do a possible 6 damage before having to cast 4 converted mana cost spells, but that's by turn 3, so the possibility of this card is hindered quite a bit. Will it see brew play? I think so, but it's just so slow and clunky. I don't like it at all. I'm sorry guys. Feel free to argue a case against it in the comments below. I am genuinely curious if I'm overlooking something though. Moving on, Hour of Promise is 4 colorless and 1 green mana for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 land cards, then put them onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. Then, if you control 3 or more deserts, create 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. This card is amazing. Not only does it let you search for 2 lands regardless of type, but it can also give you the advantage of creating 2 2/2 zombies for the board presence. In a standard Eldrazi deck, this seems incredible. In Draft and Seal, this actually outpaces your opponent by 2 turns and gives you board presence. And in EDH, this card is possibly one of the best ramp spells there is. I think this will be brewed around with quite a bit. But outside of standard Eldrazi decks, I really don't see a home for it there. But again, I feel like EDH is where it's at home. Our last card of the day is Endless Sands, a land desert that you can tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. You can also pay 2 colorless, tap, exile target creature you control. You can also pay 4 colorless, tap, and sacrifice Endless Sands. Return each creature card exiled with Endless Sands to the battlefield under its owner's control. This is interesting. So in Draft and Sealed, you can use it as a way to get around your creatures being destroyed on your opponent's turn, which is decent. However, this is a lot of mana. In Standard, this card is probably too awkward to be used, but again, in EDH, this card is very cool, especially in a mind control style EDH deck. So for example, take control of your opponent's creature for a turn, exile it for 2 mana, that seems pretty good. Otherwise, I feel like this card is just a bulk rare. But besides that, look at that Noah Bradley art. Stunning. I know we've had a lot of Sun art pieces in the set, but I think this one takes the cake. Anyway, that is it for previews today. What did you think? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on your favorite card of today. Mine? Holo one, for sure. I think that card is insane, and I think I might see a lot of great play in and out of Draft, Sealed, Standard, and EDH. But what was your favorite? Leave a comment below to let me know. And make sure to subscribe to MTG Traders for more content in the future. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more preview goodness.